Hey guys, it's Jenny. It's Tuesday morning, and I've got a little thought to share with you that I'm kind of excited about. So, hope you're having a good day, a good month. Where I live, it's going to be warm today, and then it's going to get cold, and we're not going to see the warm weather again. It makes me kind of sad. I just love this time of year, but the holidays are coming around. It's going to be a great time. So, Nicole, fun to see you on. If anybody else is on, tell me how you're doing and kind of what's going on with you today. And you know what I'd love to know? So in Happy Gal this month, we're talking about habits. And all month, I'm giving you little tidbits and some good little habits that you can have. You guys know habits are like pretty foundational in what I teach with Happy Gal. We talk about habit hooks a lot. Everything's about leveraging habits and creating habits. But you know what I'd love to know, is there a habit that you're wanting to kick? Like I have one right now that I've been thinking about, and I am having a tough time getting to bed. Do you ever have that where it's just like I get on my phone and it's hard to get off it, and I have good routines set up, but for some reason I've developed this little bit of a habit. And so as I've been thinking about just easy habits that I'm going to be sharing all month, like yesterday I shared one that was every time you go grocery shopping, just restore order to your pantry. Make that be a habit hook and just get rid of the old boxes and the wrappers. And that's a really easy habit to implement to make things work well in your pantry and keep things organized, or your fridge or whatever. So habits can be quick and simple and easy ones to implement, but the harder thing are those habits that you want to change. So I don't know if anybody's listening's got like, this is a habit I want to change, but I think it's just kind of nice to know that we're not the only ones. So, you know, one of mine, as I mentioned, is just trying to get to bed at night and staying off my phone. But the cool thing about habits is that they can be changed. And I know like we say that, but then when we try it, it's kind of tough sometimes, right? Like, you know, you have this bad habit and you just can't kick it, you know? So today, what I wanted to talk about is what is the science of changing a habit? And one of my favorite books is The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. And so I'm going to share a lot of what he talks about, but it just fits hand in hand so well with what I teach when we talk about getting organized. And the cool thing about habits is that they work so well with your brain. So you know I'm going to be way on board with the idea of habits, because I love so much working with the way our brain is already set up to work. Habits work because the brain doesn't want to think hard. It wants things to be easy. It wants things to be natural and automatic. So once we start doing something a certain way and we repeat it several times, the brain's like, we got it. We can go on to autopilot and it becomes a habit. All right. So what's so great is knowing this about our brain allows us to be able to create habits or change habits with that same sort of science. But it's a little trickier than just that. And so that's kind of what I wanted to share today. Some stuff I learned from Charles Duhigg and The Power of Habit, and just some of my own experience. There's this whole kind of cycle that happens that powers a habit. And it's got this routine, reward, and cue kind of thing, where we'll get a cue, and so we'll go into this same routine, which is the habit, so that we can get a reward. And we just kind of need to like back up and take a look at that under a microscope and just ask ourselves, okay, what is it that what is that reward we're trying to get? What triggers us? What is that cue that makes us want to get it? And then what is the habit itself that what's that routine that we do? And then what is the reward we're after? And when we can get really clear on those pieces, then we can start to play around with it. I'm just going to explain how that works. All right. So I know this is a lot first thing on Tuesday morning, but I'm telling you guys, all month I'm going to give you quick tips. This is kind of your opportunity to hear, like, this is how we really start to dig in and change some of these habits. So super valuable, I think, to be able to know how to change these habits. So whatever habit is that you have that you want to change, be thinking of that. And I think the place to start, Charles Duhigg starts at the end with this, but I think it's really important to think about, well, what is the cue? What's the trigger that makes you want it? And so one of the things that he suggests is to just sit down, you know, separate from when you're in the space of having that habit happen, to sit down and ask yourself, okay, where are you? What time is it? What are you feeling right now? Who else is around? And kind of like what's happening, what happened prior to this to make me want to go into this habit. So anytime we ask ourselves those questions and write that stuff down, it creates awareness, and then we've got something to work with. All right, so be thinking about, with whatever habit it is. For me, it's at night, you know, trying to get to bed and getting on my phone. What's going on? Well, the house is quiet. Nobody needs me. I finally allowed myself to have some downtime. I want to relax. You know, that's kind of, I just kind of want to disconnect from everything and everyone. So I turn to my phone because it's mindless, right? So just knowing what that cue is kind of the first step of saying, okay, that is what's preceding it. Then when I find myself in that spot, for me, when I'm alone and wanting to disconnect and just downshift, that's going to be that cue that's going to make me grab my phone instead of go to bed. Okay, and then identify the routine. Then what is it that you do? I mean, you know, sometimes it's 5-10 minutes, sometimes it's 20-30 or more that I am just like doing nothing on my phone or reading or something, but it's time that I really want to be sleeping, right? But that's what I'm doing, that's what the routine is. So identify whatever the routine is. What is the thing that you are doing? And then I think the most important part of this whole thing is, what is the reward? What is it that you're wanting to get out of it? And I kind of hinted around at all of this, but it's really important to actually write this down and think, what is it that I'm trying to get out of it? So for me, I think I'm just trying to unwind. I think I'm just trying to give myself that space to unwind. And so can I experiment with different kinds of rewards that are a little bit more healthy so that I'm not doing this bad habit that I don't want to be doing? So is there a way that I can give myself, that I can have everyone in bed or have some time alone, that I'm allowing I've got that cue, right? And I'm wanting to go into this routine of just kind of disconnecting, but can I give myself that reward in a different way? Can I do it earlier in the day so that I don't have that need building up all day? Can I do it earlier in the evening or right after the kids get in bed? Because you know how you kind of mess around a little bit? Can I do it a little bit earlier than that? And can I try a different reward? Can I try, instead of being on my phone, can I try like writing in my journal? Or can I try reading something inspirational? Can I try talking to my husband? What is it that I really, really want? And the thing about it, you guys, is as you're going through these different trials of trying to figure out what it is, sometimes things will work and other times things don't, and you just have to kind of like watch and see what's working and what's not. Now, I know the reason we don't do this is because it's work, right? It's easier to just keep going and doing the same thing, the automatic thing that we've been doing. But I want you to just take a step back and think about how my favorite line is, you either pay the price of success or you pay the price of failure, but either way, you pay a price. There's always a price tag to whatever it is that you're doing. And the price of failure for me is I'm not getting enough sleep and I'm kind of wasting some time and I don't feel awesome after I'm doing it. It's easy, but it's easy to get myself into that situation, but then I have to pay that price the next morning of being tired and not being up in the moment that I want to get up. And so it is a little bit more pricey to kind of work through this on the back end and think, how can I redesign this? But the price of success is pretty small when you consider then I'm out of that habit, right? And I'm up when I want to be up and I'm accomplishing the things I want to accomplish. And so always look at, when we're breaking things down like this and going through these steps of again, what is the cue, what triggers you into wanting to do the bad habit, and then what is the habit, what is that routine, and what is that reward you're looking through, is you can experiment with different rewards and start to see what works, even though it's kind of a pain and it's some work. In the end, it's so much better to do that, right? And I know that sounds really obvious, but we have to keep that in the forefront of our mind when we're going through these processes, because it's easier to just not do it. But in the end, we're so glad we did. So I just think one of the most important things that I've learned as I've done this is that it's a little bit of trial and error, but you always win when you just keep being diligent with trying to change that habit. So if you experiment with different rewards and you find some that work, and then you create a plan to make sure that you're going to, now when you get that cue, you're executing that new plan. Sometimes it's going to work and sometimes it's not going to. But if you're diligent with that, once you've kind of identified that reward you want and you come up with a different plan, so in other words, changing the habit, when you're diligent with that, at first it can be, it's not 100%, but the cool thing about the brain is how it adapts and allows you to do that more and more consistently until you're doing it without thinking. There was a quote that I found. A habit is a choice we make at some point and then stop thinking about it, but we continue doing it. And I just love that. It's a conscious choice we're making at some point, but the cool thing about our brain is it automates it as we get to stop thinking about it, and we still get the effects of that choice. You guys, that is success. That's why we do this. That's what makes it worth it. So I just love, I love knowing about how our brain works so that we can create these results that we want to have. And I just want to encourage you guys, whatever habit that you have that has come to mind that you would like to change, just look at those simple steps. You know, identify what is that routine, what is that habit, what are the elements of that, what reward are you looking for, play around with satisfying that reward, and then pay attention to the cue, what launches you into that routine, and come up with a different plan to do it a different way, to get you that reward, taking a different route. And you know, I like to think of it as a trail in my brain. You know, I'm going down a trail in my brain that's a bad habit, that it's super easy and well worn, but I don't like where I land. And so it's just a matter of several times blazing a new trail and going down that trail, and then you like where you land. So it's worth the work, and it gets more automatic. Yeah, I think there's this other concept of keystone habits. I think I'll talk about that another time. You guys have heard me talk about keystone habits before, but I am going to go ahead and save that for another day, because that is a powerful concept, and it's almost kind of independent. But on the heels of creating good habits, there are certain habits that you can create that really have a lot of impact and create other good results. And those are keystone habits. So I don't know, if you want me to talk about those next week, I can. There's a handful of them that are super powerful. But I just love making life easier. I love organizing what's going on up here, because when I take that little bit of effort to do it, oh my goodness, it makes my life so much better. And that is what's so fun about getting organized. So anyway, hope this helps you kick some bad habits, and let me know, you know, if you have some success with it. I would love to hear about it. Anyway, okay, and then watch this month. All month we're going to be just giving you good little habits and good tips. Maybe not quite as deep as this, just easy things that you can implement that makes your life a little bit easier, a little bit more organized. All right, see y'all later.